Hello everyone, welcome to Nirvana, School of ThaiYoga Massage. In the last video, as we had discussed about the anatomy, the physiology of the body posture. Now in this slide again, we are going to continue the same. The last slide we have tried to explain in terms of the side views and understanding the different imbalances that happens within the posture. And now in this slide what we are going to do is we are going to concentrate more from the front or the rear end view and how exactly in a real life three-dimensional situation within the body, how different trigger points, stress knots, or anything that arises, any pain condition usually happens. Now again, looking at the body posture, the feet, knees, girdle, or the back region, shoulder, and the cervical, we can pretty much figure it out, the imbalances. But when an imbalance happens, what happens that your muscles, they basically tend to change, and they change their shape, the size, and I have mentioned in the first line most of the time that the muscles get hardened and hardened. So what I mean by that, when the muscles get hard, so what exactly happens in scientific term, we call it by different names. In medical terminology, that's called as sacrum, trigger point, or the stretch knots. But the anatomy of a sacrum are the individual units of muscles that helps to glide two muscles fibers to have a contraction when required, or have a flexion or the extension of the muscles. Sacromers are the basic building blocks, and their movement defines how much flexibility a person will have. Due to an imbalanced posture, these individual muscles units, uh, being in one situation for a long time or imbalanced position, they tend to get hardened to provide you that optimum balance that is required to function in your day-to-day life. And if you keep on being in the same situation over a period of time, they start condensing harder and harder, and they feel like a kind of a knot. Now these knots, if you consider and now look at these knots from the two perspective, one is the yoga perspective and the another one the body work, the gym perspective, people usually, these are the two categories under which people consider them as an option to keep themselves healthy. That's the kind of workout that's pretty much popular. Now if you look from the yoga perspective, these sacrums, what they try to do is they try to have these individual muscles, filaments, or the segments healthy by providing you the maximum flexibility that you can get. So any point of the time, yoga or the yogic posture maintains your optimum posture by providing you enough flexibility and the contraction of the muscles whenever needed, thus decreasing the rates of any kind of injuries or any pain conditions and improving your stamina. Now on the contrary, if you see the gym body, what they try to do is they facilitate the hardening of your muscles, thus in a way to provide you the kind of strength that's needed on a day-to-day life. But in my opinion, I have seen a lot of hardening of these muscles in someone who has been to the gym or been into a very heavyweight body workout. Now looking to this current slide and just refreshing what we have learned in the first video, the previous video that we have posted, uh, from the lower down, if you concentrate on the calf muscles, the front thigh muscles shown by the blue arrow that's been contracted towards the ground, that in turns is pulling the girdle towards the front. So most of the people, where you will see a dip in your spinal column with a drop down structure in their stomach, they tend to have a much more bigger tummy or a bloated tummy. But that usually not the case. Usually that's been because it's been complemented, their posture has been complemented by a very tight frontal thigh muscles that's pulling their posture towards the front. Now due to this dip in the spinal column, uh, if that's been complemented and with a weak upper shoulder muscles, or the frontal the pectoralis, the chest muscles contraction, this can further make a snake-like structure in the entire spine and and push their neck towards the front, keeping your shoulders, the front, the entire head, trapezius, rhomboids, all the shoulders, the lower shoulder muscles in a continuous stressful situation. Now the next slide helps you to understand the hardening of the muscles, the trigger point creation from the rear view. We have tried to start with an example where we have shown that on the left hand side of the calf, the point A that's been addressed, you have an hardening for somebody's body posture. Now what exactly happens? This hardening of muscles in one side of the calf, in one of the legs, can pull the body posture in such a way that it might complement and hardening at a point B or the C. Now this transfusion of the stress, the balancing, can be in any of the point, either that B and C. Now every point, even the B and C, are individually capable of further transferring the balancing of the stress might be to the point D or E. So keeping in mind that even a stress at the B can trigger a stress at E or a D, or even from the point C, that's the other side of the leg, that can even complement the stress at the same further point. Moving F, G and towards the top at the shoulder, H and I are the further points. So by looking at this picture, we can understand that even a small imbalance at the calf can trigger a kind of imbalance response in such a way that you might have may develop a hardening in your shoulder that might have been triggered by one side of your calf. Now this is pretty interesting because most of the people will have this we find this very amusing, that how come something that's happened in the calf can trigger such sort of imbalance, or might be a migraine. But on a day-to-day basis, what we go through, and we realize that this is what the situation has been. Now think in terms of a cross-section spiral. Now this picture here, what we are trying to understand is towards the right leg calf, the trigger might get triggered, the trigger point might trigger a response in your left thigh. Now this might be the front side of the thigh. Now to balance that load from the back side of the calf to the front side of the thigh, and from there the next trigger point can be on the back towards the iliac crest or the groddle. Now just remember, this is the spine belt I'm talking about, the back side. Now from there, the next responses might be again circling and spiraling, might be towards the shoulder, towards the side of the shoulder blades, and from there that might be towards the neck. Now from someone who is going through a backache, for him that might be pretty hard to understand, but the pain that's been triggered, that might be coming from the thighs or the calf, or might be from the top down onwards. Now this is pretty hard to understand because when it comes to the pain management, everyone just thinks about the medication, or might be a little bit of yoga. But we need to understand that if we have a full, efficient, balanced posture, we might have to invest just a very less amount of time to get the same amount of work done without getting ourselves more and more stressed on a day-to-day basis. Now let's move to the next slide and understand the major reason for the back pain. There are lots and lots of muscles. Those have been held accountable for lumbar pain, sacral pain and everything. But here in this picture, let's understand the main trigger points. Specifically, someone who is going through the sciatica pain, the green patches, you might see these trigger points usually form towards the sacrum, the S1, or the lumbar region, the L2 region. Now let's look just above that. If you can see the red spot at the T4 and 5, now that's the place where usually people report about feeling a kind of pinching pain all the time when they walk through, and this usually happens when you have accumulated a lot of amount of stress in your back muscles and they have it really hard now. Now people with headache, they can look at the purple and the blue patches. These are the trigger points where you find a lot of hardening in the rhomboid muscles, the scapula, the trapezius, and the mastoid muscles. If you can see the greenish purplish patch in the neck, that's the way for someone going through migraine or anything, they tend to have a lot of hardening of and stress nodes in these areas. Now the next slide, just a refresher in terms of specifically the places where these pain formations happens most of the time. The serratus muscle, that's mus dorsi. Someone who works out a lot, they tend to have a lot of hardening in these parts. Rhomboid muscles are associated with someone who has a very hunch forward posture for a long period of time. They tend to have a lot of tightness here. So here we are now again towards the end of the slide. Today we have tried to get a 360 view of the posture imbalances and try to focus on the specific reasons behind the back problem. Now we are thinking of doing specialized small clips, so we welcome your comments, your views, your suggestions. You can always come down to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/nirvana.ThaiYogaMassage, or you can go to the search page of Facebook and just type SOTYM and you will find us. Or you can always call us on our mobile number that's visible on our website. That's www.ThaiYoga.in. Just keep us posted, and thank you so much for investing your time, and we will get back to you again with more and more informational videos. Thank you.